Good morning and happy Monday. Um, I'm up early this morning, earlier than usual, because today is the first day of school for my children. I just came back home from dropping my youngest daughter off at school. She starts fifth grade this year. She was very excited to start back, and so am I must admit. My other two children, one is headed to the 11th grade and one is headed to the 8th grade. So this is a very exciting time for me right now because, school's starting back. That gives me more time to focus on other things instead of focusing on the needs of my children throughout the summertime and keeping them entertained, keeping them from being bored all the time. So it's like a newness for myself and for them. It's a new beginning, a new school year, a new opportunity to do the things that I weren't wasn't able to do over the summer, because I was preoccupied with, making sure, you know, they were entertained. So I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I had a great weekend myself. I didn't do a whole lot. Did a lot of preparation, school shopping, preparation for them going back to school. I didn't. My weekend didn't go as planned, but I never get angry when my plans don't turn out the way I thought they were going to turn out because I know that we can make plans. And I once read that we make plans and God laughs at our plans because He ultimately, knows exactly what we're going to do. So it's all good. What I want to talk about today is a couple of things. First, I want to speak on forgiveness and how important it is to forgive those who you feel have wronged you, and also how important it is for you to forgive yourself for the things that you may have done against yourself or against someone else. Forgiveness, forgiveness is like taking a weight off of your shoulders. Um, there were points in my life where a certain name would trigger a certain memory, and then that would trigger a certain emotion. And that's when I came to know that I truly had not forgiven myself and the person, whose name was brought up. Um, and it's not a good feeling to walk around holding any anger in your hearts towards anybody. I can honestly say at this time in my life, I don't hold any grudges. I'm not angry at anyone. I feel completely at peace with everyone who I feel has done any misdeed to me. And I have completely forgiven myself for any misdeed I've done against myself and against others. Because forgiveness is basically, giving yourself permission to not be angry, giving yourself permission not to hold on to a negative emotion, when connected to a certain experience or a certain situation that you've been through in your life. So I feel like forgiveness is very important. Um, some people, they say to me, how can you forgive that person after what they've done to you? And I say to them, I mean, it depending on the situation, the forgiveness came sooner and the forgiveness was much easier. More difficult situations, the forgiveness eventually came, but there was that. I feel like before we forgive, we have to experience the emotion of anger. We get mad, we think about it, we talk to our friends about it, and then we let it go. Because staying in a place, staying in anger, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to stay in a state of anger. So it's very important that we forgive the people who we feel have done something to us. Um, about 6 years ago, I was involved in an incident where I was cut by a young lady. in my face. 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago. Yes, 2 years ago, I opted to have um, surgery on my face to remove or to decrease the appearance of the scar that was left on my face because of the incident that I was involved in. Since the incident had taken place, I can I can assure you that I have no hard feelings, no grudges, no animosity, no anger, no resentment towards the young lady that cut me. About a year after the incident, her and I um, applied for the same position at the same job, and we were able. Well, we were eventually able to talk, go to lunch and talk, and she asked me to forgive her, and I told her she was already forgiven. Um, but I think that that was a very pivotal time in my life because God put us in a place because before we were working together, I was still holding on to that anger and why me and why did that happen to me instead of me looking at the the good, the good that came out of it because every bad thing, every pain, every hurt, every tear that we cry on the other side of the pain and the tears, something good going to come out of it, especially those of us who believe in God and has, put Him first in our lives. So I was still holding on to the anger prior to us working together. But by me having to see her every single day, it brought back up those feelings of how I felt immediately after the incident. um, I felt as though I felt as though I could not live past that moment. I felt as though that was the end of my life, the end of my career, the end of my dreams, the end of everything because our your face, especially I mean for anybody, a woman or a man, I mean your face is the first thing a person sees when you walk into wherever. But God, I'm just gonna say God is so good. God is amazing because even though I went through what I went through, I came out of the situation so much better. I came out stronger. I came out wiser. I came out of the situation with a better relationship with God. So I have completely forgiven that person to the point where we're able to talk on the telephone, we're able to hang out from time to time, um, when time permits me to. um, it's just a forgiveness is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's an awesome thing. And I suggest, if anybody's holding anything against anyone, it's okay to be angry at first. It's okay. I mean, anger, it's a good emotion because it sparks up, it gives us direction on where we need to go. And you don't want to stay in a state of anger. So you have to move on and be forgiven. I also want to talk about um, how God will speak to you, and we have to be inclined to hearing His voice because He talks to us all the time. I always say, like a person who talks a lot, who's always talking, I always think to myself, how do you have time to hear from God? Because I don't ever hear from God when I'm talking myself. I hear from Him a lot when I'm being quiet. I spend a lot of time like being by myself, um, being home in meditation and in prayer. And my meditations are mostly silent or, just chanting affirmations. And during those times, I hear from God. So I think about, So many people, they seek the advice of others for this situation, that situation, instead of, seeking God and waiting to hear his voice, because he always answers us. He hears us and he always answers us. I know he always answers me. Sometimes the answer doesn't show up in a way that I thought it would, but he always answers me. And another thing, prior to the incident of me being cut and even other bad things that had happened in my life, God always pre warned me. He warned me of the dangers ahead. I cannot think of one situation that I've been in my life that I was not warned that it was going to happen before it happened. I can't think of one. And that makes me that makes me feel so good, because I know that we God is a loving God. And if we just listen and be inclined to hear his voice, he will never lead us in the wrong direction. That the night that I was cut, I'm just going to tell you about that one time when I heard God's voice. And I'll touch on a few more. But the night that I was cut, I was in my bathroom. I had just came home from work, and a voice spoke to me in my heart and said, "Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere tonight. Don't go to the club. Don't go anywhere." And I sat there, I looked at myself, and I said, "Why am I hearing this? I want to go out. I want to go have a good time. I've been working all week. I want to go out. I want to go have fun." So what I did is I called a friend and I said, "Listen, this is going to sound weird, but I just heard a voice that told me don't go. Don't go." She said, "Oh, you'll be okay. Come on, you can go out." That night I almost lost my life. Had I listened, had I listened to that voice, I would have saved myself the money that I spent on having surgery. I would have saved myself the emotional damage that I went. But God is such a good God that he warned me. I didn't have to go through the incident if I would have listened to his voice. He warned me not to go, and I went. But he's such a good God that even though I went, and what he was pre-warning me about happened to me anyway, but on the other side of that pain, those tears, the stitches, the surgery that followed, and the forgiveness of all parties that were involved, such, I'm such a much better person. I'm a much better person after that incident. And I just I just thank God. I just thank God, because I know that he will take a painful situation and he will always get the glory out of your pain. So what I would like to say, in closing, is that anything that you're going through, take the lesson out of it. What is it about yourself that God is trying to show you? What is it about the places you're going where you need to stop patronizing? You need to stop going that direction. Stop communicating with those people. We can only get out of life what we give to life, what we give our attention to. When we give our attention to going to places that attract certain type of people, then that's going to give us all the residue, or the consequences from doing that thing. That's what we're going to get if we go to those places. If we are in communication with negative people a lot, we can't help but to develop those same mindsets. So it's very important to forgive, to listen, and be inclined to hear God's voice. I thank everyone who has taken the time out of their busy Monday morning to listen to my Monday morning inspiration. I pray that you have an awesome week. I pray that everything that you set out to attain, you are able to attain it. Um, have a great week, and I will see you back here on Friday. Thank you.